482 visa is the topic of my discussion today. I'm Babar Ayub, an Australian citizen and a licensed immigration consultant of Australia from Migration Call. So what is the 482 visa? Basically, for any business who would like to bring an employee to Australia, or who has an overseas employee who would like to work for you, you need to apply for the 482 visa. So there are some criteria that has to be filled by the sponsor. Sponsor means the employer or the business, and there are some criteria has to be fulfilled by the applicant. When both the criteria are met, only then 482 visa can be granted. So this is very important video for any businesses who's looking to employ an overseas employee to his or her business, and also for any applicant who has a sponsor or an employer which is an Australian business and wants to hire that person. So for both of them, for the sponsor, I mean here the employer, and for the applicant, there are certain criteria as well as more requirements that along with the main criteria has to be fulfilled. So I'm gonna cover this topic in detail. Like always, I go on to the Australian immigration website where I tell you or explain you everything from there. A very credible source, none other than immi.gov.au, where all the information is already there for you to read and understand. Though it is a bit complicated, but I would like you to go there and have a look. I will try to explain you everything there. So if you are a sponsor or an applicant, you should look at that while you are listening to my video. So some of the information from there could be easier for you to understand. So let's go into the website and we going to find out what we need to do to get the 482 visa.
So this is the Australian Immigration Department website, immi.gov.au or immi.homeaffairs.gov.au. There you can look it up to this visa, subclass 482, skills in demand. Okay, this is the visa that we are covering today. In this particular visa, there are other subclasses or substreams in other way: core skill stream, specialist skill stream, labor agreement stream, and subsequent. But I'm going to cover only core skill stream because majority of the applicants cover this stream. So if I cover the other streams, that will take a lot of time. So our topic is core skill stream. All right, let's begin. What it says: skills in demand, 482 visa. This temporary visa lets an employer sponsor a suitable skilled worker to fill a position they can't find a suitably skilled Australian to fill. Okay, in other words, it says if you can't find an Australian, then you can go and employ some other person under this visa. What is the basic eligibility? You must be nominated for a skilled position by an approved sponsor. So there are two parts. First is you have to be nominated. Second is a skilled. There's got to be a skilled position, and third is you have to be a approved sponsor. We'll look at into all those three areas once we go into there. Then it says you have the right skills to do the job. Obviously, if you don't have the right skills to do the job, you can't be hired, and obviously you can't apply for this visa. And there is English language requirement. So we'll look into it once we go in there. So this is skill in demand visa subclass 482 core skill stream. Okay, this is a visa that is usually granted for up to 4 years. So once you are on this visa, you can stay up to 4 years. Okay, and another thing, your occupation has to be on core skill occupation list. This is just a summary on the first page. Once we go in details, we'll cover all these topics. So let's go into detail now. So now I'm into further information where it's covers skill in demand visa subclass 482 core skill streams. It's pretty much saying what it was saying on the covering page. Now we go into further information. It's repeating all this information. There is a price. I look into this one. You must. Okay, this is very important. You must. What are those things that you must have? You have to be nominated to work in occupation on the core skill occupation list. So there is a list. There are a few lists. One is MLTSL, the other is STSOL, but you have to look into core skill occupation list. So if you are sponsoring an employee, or if an applicant is looking to be sponsored, he or she, you must look into this list and see whether your occupation is there or not. If your occupation is not there, that means you cannot apply for this visa. I just quickly look into this list. So this is the list. Okay, so this is the list, core skill occupation list. It says here, see, core occupation list, and these are the occupations that can be given employment on by the sponsor and can be applied for the visa subclass 482. Okay, so all these, so it's a pretty lengthy list. Okay, so you can look into that. All right, I'll go back to our topic again. That was the first heading, first point. The second point, when you are employed, so it says be paid the annual market salary rate. So what is the annual market salary rate for the occupation, and no less than core skill income threshold? So there is a market salary rate. So whoever is given a job, whatever the market salary rate is, should be given to any other applicant in Australia, should be given to that person. But whatever his salary should not be less than core skill income threshold. So there is a core skill income threshold. So if you are being paid less than that amount, you cannot apply for this visa. So what is this core skill income threshold? I have written it for you. Core skill income threshold is 76,515 Australian dollar plus superannuation per year. So this is a salary that the applicant should be getting per year, and this superannuation should also be there. So what is superannuation? Superannuation is basically a retired fund where an employer contribute to the employee fund, and when he or she retires, basically he get access to it. Okay, so this is it's like a retiring scheme. So so it says plus superannuation. Okay, all right. One more thing, have at least 1 year relevant experience. So you got to have one more relevant experience. You got to have at least 1 year relevant work experience in the field that you are being nominated. Okay, that's pretty simple, straightforward. You should be working at least 1 year in that particular field. And another point, very important, have a relevant skill assessed if this is required for your occupation. So here I'll explain you most of the occupations here in this uh, uh, CSOL list do not need to be assessed by the relevant assessing authority under 482 visa subclass, but there are some occupations which has to be assessed, otherwise they cannot apply. So you just go and look into your occupation there, and also just go and find out by exploring it more, that whether you are required to be assessed by the relevant assessing authority or not. If you are required to be assessed by the relevant assessing authority, you have to, otherwise you don't. Like I said, many occupations under 482 visas are not required to be assessed by the relevant assessing authority. Okay, one more point: work only for your sponsor or associated entity unless you are exempt. So you got to work for the sponsor that you are being employed for. Meet minimum standard of English language proficiency. So you got to have at least, if you are going for IELTS test, IELTS academic or IELTS general, you got to have at least 5 each. So this is, you must. Okay, but these are the basic requirement for the applicant. Here, if I look, it says for applicants, right? So this round button is towards the applicant. So these are the requirements must be made met by the applicant. Now the middle part, with this visa you can, and all those, as always we look into eligibility. Check your eligibility, very important. So you got to look into that. I just click this button. Now this is the basic eligibility that you have to have in order to apply for this visa. If you are an applicant, you got, first is be this age. So there is no age requirement for this visa. So the good news is, if you are applying for 482 visa under core skill stream, there is no age requirement. Okay, second, all right, that applies for be holder of an appropriate visa. If you have compiled with previous visa condition, if you ever had a visa before, you have not, you should have met the visa conditions there. Now the next one, very important: be nominated by an approved sponsor. Okay, so what is that? Before you can apply for a SID visa, your proposed employer will need to submit a nomination application. So these are the responsibility fulfilled by the sponsor. Once we go into the sponsor section here, I will explain you that, but you just need to know that whoever is sponsoring you for the job must be approved. Okay, and you are in approved sponsorship. After approved sponsor, be nominated. So the employer has to nominate you too. I'll cover this once we go into the sponsor criteria. Okay, for you, if you are an applicant, work for your nominating employer. Okay, so Australian business sponsor, you must be employed in the position that you are employed for in your nominated occupation and in the business or an associated entity. So you got to stay employed in your nominated position while you are on this visa, and with the similar company or associated entity, like some companies have multiple companies, so associated companies. Okay. All right, this is another very important point that I just explained you a bit earlier. Have relevant skills, qualification, and employment background to perform occupation. What it says? It says if you are the primary visa applicant, you must demonstrate that you have the skills and experience necessary to perform the nominated occupation. Okay. So obviously, if you are saying what you are, you got to be the person you should have the relevant qualification and the experience. Earlier we seen that you have to have 1 year of experience minimum, and your occupation should, whatever your occupation is saying, you got to have those skills. Where, okay, now go to that. Have worked in your nominated occupation or a related field for at least 1 year. So this is very important. So it explains you everything in detail. If you want to look at into, basically saying like what I explained you earlier, that you got to be at least work 1 year or 12 months full time with an employer. If you are casual, or if you are part-time worker, then you can look into some more information. But it's pretty much it. You got to be at least one time employed one time. You 1 year employment has to be there before you are being employed by this approved sponsor. Now this thing have a positive skill assessment, what I explained you earlier. Again, there are certain trades or there are certain occupations that do not require to have the skill assessment. Like I explained you earlier, if you are applying for 482 visa under core skill stream, but there are certain occupation that requires to be assessed by the assessment authority, given by the immigration department. Whatever the skill assessing authority is, that has to, for your occupation, that assessing authority has to assess you. Okay. There are certain few things as well. Okay, we are looking into it. Have health insurance, meet our health requirement, meet our character requirement. Now this says have this level of English. Okay, have this level of English means you should have English language proficiency requirement. So you got to have at least 5 each in IELTS academic or IELTS general, or if you are giving some other test like PT or any other test, you can, and that test has to be at the same level at this one. So this is the main points. There are certain information as well which may be applicable to you. You can have a look that didn't have a visa cancel or refused before. There are some others as well, and there are some so I'm coming back to the top section where it says what details you need to have if you are a sponsor. So here I just covered for applicants. Now I'm going to the sponsor section. So I click this one. Now I am on the sponsor. So if you are an employer, or if you have an employer, that employer has to be a standard business sponsor. What is the standard business sponsor? So you must be or have applied to become a standard business sponsor. So you have to apply to the immigration department to become a standard business sponsor. If you are granted as a standard business sponsor, then obviously only then you can nominate someone on this visa. So first condition is for the employer that it has to be standard business sponsor approved by the immigration department, and then nominate the worker for an eligible occupation. So eligible occupation means like the list of occupation that falls under CSOL. Then he or she, your employer, can nominate you. Okay, without being a standard sponsor, he cannot, she cannot. But once he has, then he can nominate you to work for this organization, for his or her organization. Okay. One more criteria that is also fulfilled by the employer, that we would not be able to find an Australian worker. So he has to explain, or he has to find out, he has to he has to be the one which could not find an Australian worker. How? It explains more. You must be unable to find an Australian citizen or permanent resident with the skill and experience to fill the nominated occupation. So if you are someone who is having difficult time finding someone on this position, then you can employ from some other country. Okay, but in order to fulfill, you must do labor market testing to show us you can't find an Australian to do the work. So there are some labor market testing things like put in an ad. There are a few other things. It's all in there where you can show that, okay, I have put an ad earlier, or someone has left, or the position was there but could not find the suitable candidate. So this is called labor market testing. You can read all those. So it depends from organization to organization. I'm going back to our previous page. Okay, all right. So if you are a sponsor, I've covered this one. Okay, now I'm this. Have a genuine position available. So the position has to be genuine. It's not like the position you just have created in order to employ someone, to give the employment to someone, but it has to be genuine. So there are some ways to prove that, how the position is genuine. If the position was already there and somebody is left, or it's a new position, there are certain ways you have to prove, depend from the organization to organization, that this is a genuine role that you are looking for the person to fulfill this position. Another thing, engage the nominee under written contract of employment. So whoever you are making your employee should be contracted, like should have a contract in place between you and the applicant, where all the terms and conditions are pretty much there for the department to see. Like there are so many terms and conditions there. So there has to be a formal agreement between both of you. Okay, and there are a few other things that you can look into. Not engage in discriminatory practice. Obviously, some practices that are not allowed or legal here in Australia, so you can't do that. One more thing, employment condition must be equivalent to Australian workers. So whoever you are giving the employment to should also be given the same treatment as you give it to the Australian worker. So there should not be less preferential treatment, all right, or there should not be different working conditions, like you are not paying this person less, or you are just giving the same, so giving a fair chance to the person who is being employed. So should be the same thing. All right. Okay, so now I'm going back to for applicant. So I tried to cover pretty much everything which is very important in this visa. Basically how it works, this visa, if you are employer, you have to have have to become the approved standard business sponsor. Application have to be filled and given to the immigration department along with all the certain documents. And once your sponsorship is approved, then you can nominate the person that you are looking for, and then once your nomination is approved, then you can apply for the visa, which is 482 visa. And this is the whole process, step 1, 2, 3. There are different steps, like you can do one step, or immediately do one step, and along with after doing first step you can also do second step together, or after second while it's there you can apply for the third step. So but this is the whole process that you have to follow. I've tried to explain everything which is very important, but this visa, let me tell you, it's not very easy. It's very complicated visa. So I suggest if you are one of those, either an applicant or an employer, you should get professional guidance. Hire a registered migration agent like myself or anyone you think is the right person to do the job, because this visa can take a lot of your time, a lot of effort, and a lot of money into it. So you're making sure that all the criteria are met as per the department requirement, and this visa goes through with you smoothly, because you need an employee to work with you as soon as possible, and same goes to the applicant. He should also look for the registered immigration agent in order to apply for this visa. Anyhow, I have given you the basic information, I would say, or more, or in other words, very important information. So this is the crux of this video, to let you know what are the main criteria and main information you need. So if you have all that information, or you can meet all these criteria, only then you can apply for this visa. Otherwise there is no point, or otherwise you can just wait and make sure that all the criteria are there, have to be met. I can make another video about CSL and so many and so forth about this, and about the documents, because it's such an extensive visa and extensive information needs to be provided or given when it comes to the sponsor or to the applicant. But the topic of my discussion was there for you to at least know what is this visa about, and how can you fulfill this criteria. So that's it. I'm on this computer now, so I hope it helps you. Thank you.
So I have concluded my discussion about the 482 visa. If you have any question about this visa or any other visa or any other topic that relates to Australian visa requirement, you can always write to me. And if you want me to make more videos about any other visa, or would like to have more information about any other visa, please write to me. I will make more videos, and those who have some questions, I can try to answer your questions too. I'm Babar Ayub, an Australian citizen and a licensed migration agent of Australia from Migration Call. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you again with more videos. Thank you.